Chapter 5. The Winds. After narrowly escaping the clutches of the one-eyed man, they sailed away from that island. Again, the farther away from the island they sailed, they could see that it wasn't a very big island. "You know," said Kathy, "when all this started, we were looking at a map of the Mediterranean Sea, right?" "Right," responded Max and Brad. "And do you remember that on that map we saw a picture of a monster with one eye?" she asked. "Yes," they said. "So I think we are somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea," she said. "You're probably right," said Max. "And it seems like there are a lot of tiny little islands," said Kathy. "We might be able to figure out where we are if we look at the map again," said Brad. "Let's get it out and have a look," said Max. There wasn't much wind at the moment, so they were slowly sailing towards yet another small island. They sat down, just like they'd been sitting under the shade back in Ithaca, and looked for the map with the one-eyed monster on it. "There," said Kathy. "See it? There's the one-eyed monster. It's on a very tiny island in the Mediterranean Sea." "Yes," said Max, "and there's another small island just next to it." "I think that's the island we almost lost Brad." Brad grinned. "If you guys had only tasted it, you would have known why I drank so much of it." "You do too much of anything and it's not going to be good for you," said Kathy. "Now you're starting to sound like my mom," joked Brad. They were always teasing each other, almost like brother and sister. Meanwhile, Max was looking closely at the map. "There's one more island near the last one," he said. "Since the wind has died down, maybe the tide will take us over there." Now they could see the island. It wasn't that far away, and yes, the tide was taking them in that direction. Eventually, they entered a small bay. There was a man standing on the beach, waving for them to come towards him.
Hey, hey!
After they pulled the sailboat up onto the beach, they walked over to him. He didn't speak English, of course, but he made gestures to show them he had found food for them if they would follow him. They walked away from the beach down a path to a small hut not far away. The man gave them some food and some water. They were all tired again, so Kathy and Brad sat up against the wall on the outside of the hut and took a nap. In the meantime, the man was trying to explain something to Max. He kept blowing air out of his mouth, and finally Max figured out it had something to do with the wind. He also gave Max a leather bag, and again, it had something to do with the wind. He motioned towards the beach and the sailboat, so Max woke up Kathy and Brad. The four of them walked down to the beach, and the man motioned for them to get into the boat. They pushed off and waited to see what this was all about. There'd been absolutely no breeze for quite some time now. Suddenly, as the man stood on the beach and blew air out of his mouth, the most amazing thing happened. A huge wind picked up and blew the sailboat very swiftly out of the bay. They barely had a chance to wave goodbye to the man on the beach. Since Max had not taken a nap, he decided to get a little rest. As he was sleeping, Brad and Kathy noticed the leather bag the man had given Max. Brad was very curious. He wanted to open the bag. "Don't do that," yelled Kathy, but it was too late. It was a bag of wind that was supposed to help them in the future if there was no wind, but Brad had opened it at the wrong time, and in a few minutes they were back on the same beach. The man was still standing there. They were back where they had started. "Any more bright ideas?" Kathy asked Brad.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.